Okay, so today we're going to go over this theme worksheet and take some notes on the three different themes that we have previously mentioned for the movie. So the first theme that we're going to talk about is the theme of survival. And I put some notes up already that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to add a little bit to it as we go along. So when we think about survival, we think about staying alive, right? And sometimes you think like, oh, I hope I could just make it through the school day. I'm so tired. I don't feel good. I might end up getting picked up early, right? There's that type of survival. And then there's the type of survival of life or death, okay? Now, in the movie, we see survival, the theme of it, start in the very beginning. And that's why it's a theme. It's because it's present throughout the entire storyline and it shows itself in different ways. So the first way that we learn about the idea of survival is through Katniss and her family. So we know that she needs to keep her family fed. Her father died, and her mom was in no shape to support them. So she became the hunter of the family. She learned how to use a bow and arrow, and she would go out with her friend and she would hunt. And she would bring, things to the, their market type place to exchange for different goods to keep their family alive. So we see that first part of survival before we even get to the games. That when you look around District 12, you see that they are poverty stricken. They are the worst out of all the districts. They're made up of miners. They are struggling just to get food on their tables. So that's the first place that we really see the idea of survival coming into play. Then the next one comes in when we actually get into the training of the games, because one of the head trainers says outright that, you guys are going for these weapons trying to figure out, your best skill, but most of you are going to die because of the elements. You're not going to be able to survive living in that wilderness setting. So Katniss does have a good idea of her basic skills. Her coach does explain to her, water is key. It's imperative for you to stay alive. Creating a type of shelter. And we see throughout the games how she does that, how she utilizes her different, arsenal of things that she's known and things that she has progressed to understanding in order to stay alive. She's smart. When it was time in the beginning and they all started running at trying to get the weapons and things like that, she did remember what her coach said. She did not run directly for that stuff, but she did get one of those backpacks that had supplies in it, and those supplies allowed her to create weapons, keep herself alive by staying up in the tree, tied to the tree, so that way she doesn't fall out when she falls asleep, things like that. All of that ties into this theme of survival. Now, obviously, creating some sort of alliances, things like that, that all goes through. Now, when I told you for the worksheet, right, it said, create a thematic statement in the middle, and then each side, each piece, you would provide some evidence, whether it be a quote, some words from the movie that represent your theme. So as an example, excuse me, I said, struggle for survival. Now, if you're looking at this and it says the struggle for survival, you're going to find different examples from the movie that show that. So, maybe you put in here, runs for supply bag, makes bow and arrow from sticks. So you basically take some examples from the movie that show what it is that you said here, okay? And it can be things from the beginning, so struggle for survival, finds food for family so they don't starve. So you're literally just typing in examples from the movie that show a struggle for survival. Now, it can be within Katniss, it could be within any of the characters, so that's completely up to you. Now, again, when you're doing this, you're only choosing one theme. So you don't have to do this for every single one of them, but you're going to choose your theme. So now, moving into violence in reality TV. Now this one, a couple of things happened with this one in regards to myself when watching the movie. We all understand what reality TV is. We see it all the time. It's on multiple channels. There's different types of reality TV shows. We even see Survivor type shows. We have things that make people show how smart they are, how stupid they are, how resourceful they are, things like that. Now, this movie takes the idea of reality TV and kind of jacks it up way higher, because ultimately they're killing each other, and you're supposed to be killing every other person. Only one person should be left standing. So this takes reality TV to a whole different level. Now, when you first start watching the movie, you don't think of it as a reality TV show, because we're getting that sense of, okay, these people are being picked and that sucks. They are going to have to fight for the death. This is just the tradition of their society, and it's very grim until the chosen people get taken to the Capitol, and then you see how it turns into this huge show. And even the contestants themselves don't realize it until they get there, and they're seeing that people are cheering for them and are looking for them. So, the entire game is a reality show, and that's something that it's hard to digest when you know that they're ultimately having to kill one another and are going to die. So one part of this being the reality TV show is that there are sponsors, just like in TV, right? Like commercials, those are sponsors for that show that are giving money for it to air, right? So there are sponsors that give money and supplies to contestants. Now, when you think of a contestant, you think of someone on a game show who's going to do something really good. Here, it's the people that are now becoming, what the people in the Capitol consider to be actors, but they're real people that are going to be losing their lives and going to be taking lives. So, we learn that the people that are involved need to get on the good side of the sponsors, so that way they can be given money and supplies throughout the game. So, we learn fairly early in the games that Katniss, she lucks out. Her coach went to some people who liked her, and they gave money so he could send her that ointment for the bad burn she got. So, this is one aspect of the reality show side. And now the violence side that we really have to think about. Obviously, the ultimate, winner of the show kills whoever they come in contact with, right? They have to outlive everybody else. So the winner must outlive all other players. Okay? Now, when we talk about violence, when we talked about man versus nature and Katniss having to fight against those fires, we see behind the scenes, like, that's not a natural fire. There were actual people in the control rooms setting those fires to create that struggle for her. So the producers of the show create natural let's say disasters, right? So fires that Katniss must survive. And obviously, you know, the idea of this reality show and the thing with violence is they have that sounding like drum every time a person dies, and it comes up on the screen. So everybody viewing is watching and ultimately rooting either for or against these deaths. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into this idea of the violence, right? So what you would do is the same idea, right? You would put the violence in reality TV, and then in each one of these squares, you would put examples from the movie that show the violence from the reality TV. So you can put in there producers cause fires, or producers cause, you know, the water to continue to rush, or whatever it is, or, you know, because they were guiding her toward that group of people that want to kill her. So they're seeing all of this, right? That room where the producers are see the entire structure and see what the people are doing. So you would just put the different examples in here. Now they have to go directly from the movie. The last one, which I didn't put additional notes in here because we took the notes on the dystopian society. So I just want to kind of go over it a little bit with you, right? So if we're talking about dystopian society, we have to give the examples from the movie that show that this is in fact the dystopian society. And there are some very distinct characteristics of that. Now, one major characteristic of a dystopian society is where the capital city is wealthier than other districts. And you see that right away. You see the change from when their train gets into that city. It's a world of a difference. They're like staying in this 5-star hotel with all kinds of crazy amenities that these kids have never seen before because they're from poor towns. We also see something that makes it a dystopian thing is, did you notice that some of the districts seem to have more privilege than others? Like that, you know, that one district, they're trained to do these games since, you know, as soon as they can start walking. Whereas in District 12, they're too busy trying to help their families stay alive to actually worry about training for the games. Like, it's just lucky that Katniss had to, you know, hunt for her family to survive, so she had that skill, you know, and obviously she wasn't even supposed to be picked, so she took her sister's place knowing that she already had that skill. So, so we can say some districts have more privilege than others. This shows that it's dystopian because it's not equal. Okay, so you would choose 2 other examples that show that it's a dystopian society. So any 2 other examples, there are plenty there. Now remember, the dystopian societies, you know, is where there's that presence of that powerful ruling government, that controls public thought and opinion. So if you find an example of that, obviously you have another example to add there. So I just want you to choose one of the 3 themes and then complete this worksheet, okay, that it's the theme goes in the middle, and then you put your 4 examples of either quotes or situations that help to explain the theme, and then it just says include an explanation of how they relate to the theme. So if basically you use the bottom if it's not really explanatory in the square. If you're able to explain it in the square, you don't have to do the bottom. If it looks like I would have no idea what you're talking about, then I would explain it in the bottom. Okay? As always, if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I am here to help. Have a wonderful day.